A group of teachers with questionable teaching methods are hired to teach at the worst school in the country in an attempt to improve the students' grades. That's why today, Ariel teachers. If you enjoy the videos, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and enabling notifications. It's free and helps me grow. Let's get started. The school's board is meeting because they are ranked as the worst academy, because only 12% of their students managed to pass the exams. They were warned that if half don't pass this year, everyone will be fired. They decide to find the worst teachers in the country to teach the worst students, because if they can't make them learn, nothing will. So they start looking for Gladys. Kutiro, a strict English teacher, is considered a genius, while Eric is a practical physical education teacher. There's Albert, fired over 11 times, and Morris, who teaches philosophy in an incomprehensible way. On the other hand, we have Pelachon, who teaches history in a museum, since he is a lover of Napoleon. And finally, there's the language teacher, Amina, whom everyone wants to learn from. When classes start, the new teachers are introduced, but everyone focuses on the woman. We see Gladys on her first day, kind to everyone until she asks for introductions and throws chalk at those who mispronounce words. When Thierry arrives late and jokes by saying random things, he ends up throwing himself onto the chalk-covered floor. In the next period, we see Kutiro arriving late to the classroom, and instead of starting to teach, he decides to relax at the desk until the principal comes in, so he takes the opportunity to go smoke in the hallway. Meanwhile, Pelachon practices her presentation nervously in the bathroom on her first day, while Thierry smokes in the other stall. He tells her he's never arrived early to class because it's a family tradition. But when the boy starts talking about dates, saying that Napoleon Bonaparte wasn't a big deal, the teacher throws himself at him to take him back to class because Napoleon is his idol. Running late, he hurries into the classroom and asks to start. Mari tries to intervene, but the teacher insists she sit, as he doesn't allow anyone to speak without permission while teaching. He begins with Napoleon's birth to present everything clearly, until Mari tells him she's the German teacher and he's in her class. At lunch, the teachers socialize with each other. Meanwhile, Morris and Eric tell Pelachon that Mari loves him, since she can't stop looking at him. She is actually telling a classmate how she met him. Eric shows no interest in his students' names, giving everyone a nickname instead. And he doesn't respond politely. He orders her to climb a tree or run across the field. This time, Amina gets all the students to pay full attention, even though she doesn't hear herself speak. Then it's Morris's turn. He tries to teach students the meaning of the table and chair by making them use them backwards, but none of them learn anything. Next, Albert tries to teach basic chemistry to the kids by beating eggs with a green liquid, but ends up filling the classroom with foam. After classes, Pelachon waits outside for Mary to flirt with her, but she doesn't seem interested. After she saves him from a skateboard accident, the teacher hugs her in gratitude, falling even more in love with the German teacher. Eric flaunts his skills in gym class, even if it means physically overpowering his students. Since people mock a girl with glasses for missing a ball, he makes them play basketball blindfolded. 2 months have passed and the parents are lining up to complain to the principal because all the teachers' experiments only harm their children. They demand a solution, and just then Kutiro arrives to announce he's leaving because he says that 3 minutes are enough to learn, so the remaining 50 minutes of class don't matter. The principal calls the board inspector, saying their plan isn't working and asking them to come immediately. The man claims to trust his teachers, but actually wants to avoid getting involved. The principal devised a way to monitor new teachers and implemented it the next day, starting with English class. When Gladys tries to throw more chalk at Thierry, they realize they're stuck to the desk. She grabs the eraser, not realizing it's tied to the blackboard, and accidentally hits herself. Kutiro is later electrocuted while sitting in a chair trying to finish class as the principal argues with him over a loudspeaker. There's still plenty of time to learn. Now it's Pelachon's turn since he only talks about Napoleon. They try to make him explain something unrelated to his war idol. Afterwards, Albert sees the supply cabinet is securely locked. His only solution is to explain carbonated water science, but he ends up crying because he wants to blow up more things. All the students are wearing coats because the air conditioning is set low, just so Amin wears more clothes. So the kids pay attention to him, and one answers a question correctly for the first time. Later, Peluchon tells the others his plans with Marie. They tell him her hug proves she prefers muscular men over smart ones. However, he goes a bit overboard taking the advice, because when he goes out, he dresses like a construction worker to try to impress her. He just embarrasses himself and gets subtly rejected when the girl says she's too busy to go out tonight. At the end of the term, there's a teachers' meeting to evaluate his performance. Even though some students have improved, Jutiro remains the worst. So the board inspector decides to ignore the principal and gives them a free pass to teach however they see fit. Now, an extreme phase begins, which Pericon takes advantage of to dramatize Napoleon even more. Jutiro basically treats the class as his relaxation room. And after a girl accused Thierry of pulling her hair, Gladys simply cuts it to prevent it from happening again. You just shouldn't have hair, right? Later, Albert has a student sit on a smoking pot during his experiment. But one stopper flies off and hits the same girl on the head. So he plugs the leak, causing his glove to inflate until it gets so big that it explodes, filling the whole classroom with latex and chocolate. Eric uses his class to make students act like monkeys while he climbs trees. Morris has pushed his philosophy to the extreme, making the entire class undress to show that goodness comes from having nothing. Nobody messes with Gladys because she's a chalk machine gun, filling the classroom with fear, since Terry is still a fool who hasn't learned any good English words. Later, the old teachers look for the principal everywhere, since it's very strange that he's not in his office. But they find him walking on the edge of the rooftop, so they go with him to make sure he doesn't commit suicide. However, he's just watching the students rush into the school, as the classes have become very popular. Even kids who don't attend sneak in by jumping the fences. Albert turned his class into a foam disco, and Anima's classroom now extends past the windows. And the students celebrate every move Jutiro makes, because they already consider him a genius. At lunch, everyone crowds the teachers for autographs and even kisses. They became their heroes without learning anything. Meanwhile, Peluchon talks with the others since nothing he's tried with Marie has worked. Since he keeps embarrassing himself trying to win her over, Eric suggests he act like the Prince Charming she wants. Nothing wins over a woman like being a gentleman, but the man takes the advice too literally when he arrives. Where is the German teacher, dressing as a king on horseback to invite her to dinner at the pizzeria tonight? Although he ends up falling off the horse and running after it, making her find it funny. Later, the school holds a final exam drill, and non-students must wait outside. So during the night, all the teachers wait to celebrate the results, but the principal tells them that only 3% passed. Everyone leaves disappointed because the school is closing due to failure. Or how Peluchon lags behind to kill a fly, even jumping into the ventilation duct after it. Later, the principal is in the bathroom when the board inspector arrives and hears the results. He's happy because his real plan was to look for the worst teachers in the country, but not to help the students, rather to finish sinking the school. If they fail, his boss gets fired and he'll become board president. However, Peluchon overhears the conversation because he was still trapped in the ducts. He goes to tell his friends the whole truth while they drink in the kitchen out of academic spite. Everyone searches for the inspector in the parking lot like zombies after deceiving him. Although the man is terrified, he mocks them, knowing the school will close because of him and they can't stop it. The history teacher suggests stealing the exam questions to save the school. At night, everyone trains with tomatoes and shields to prepare for tomorrow's march to the Ministry of Education. Although at that moment, Mary shows up to invite Peluchon out, so he runs after her to arrange a date for Monday, because he's very busy right now. The next day, he throws tomatoes at the guards during the march until they charge, but Gladys drops to the ground and they ignore her. That gives them a direct path to the ministry. Now she takes the car, and Jutiro sits while the others use Amina's beauty to distract the guards. Don't touch, one's missing. Wait for another. Meanwhile, an old teacher discovers the mess made by our protagonists overnight. He tells the principal about the plan, but finds him eating candy, indifferent to everything. Meanwhile, Morris distracts the receptionist so the others can reach the safe. Albert's bomb fails until Kutiro shows up with gifts. Finally, he uses his wits to crack the code, allowing them to photograph the exams. The next day, they gather the students to do another drill, but this time with the real questions. But the phone they used belonged to a guy who finds all the photos and tells his classmates. Later, the students reveal the stolen exam was for younger kids, not theirs, making everyone see them as fools who can't even steal properly. Sherry still defends them because, for the first time, she wants to attend class and listens to her teachers. Then, Peluchon can't handle the pressure and quits school, leaving his classmates and disappointing Mary, who didn't expect him to give up so easily. However, the history teacher goes up to the roof to give a speech that motivates both students and teachers. Together, they begin intensive studying to earn the passing grades needed for exams in 2 weeks. Also, silencing the inspector who still doubts they can do it. Finally, the day of the test arrives and the students rush to see their results. But the teachers gather, disappointed by only a 49% pass rate. The principal receives a letter because Thierry was expelled for excessive absences. This raises the students' pass rate to 50%, preventing the school from closing. Sometime later, we see that the president of the board thanks everyone for their help and offers them a transfer. But they want to stay at the school because they still have a lot of work to do. While the inspector is transferred to a jungle, Peluchon finally gets a kiss from Mary before a photo with all his classmates. This was Serial Teachers. Remember to like, comment which movies you'd like to see, subscribe, and enable notifications so you don't miss future videos.